after every 2 hours. We've got news updates coming on your screen. So for all your news needs, stay with us 24/7. Also, for your comments and reactions to a topic of discussion, land use and conflicting interests, what you got to do is very simple. Go to Facebook, search for TV2 Zambia, like the page, and drop your comments there as we build up to obviously a very interesting topic of discussion this morning. Now, when you're talking about land, it's obviously the issue of city planning, isn't it? Yeah. So let's now hear from Mr. Trophius Kufanka, beg your pardon. He's Lusaka City Council acting city district, beg your pardon, Lusaka City Council city acting district planning officer, and he's here to give us his reaction and of course more detail concerning city planning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Please.
Wonder which one?
You
have to clap your hands. But so, I mean, for how long have you been in this department for city planning?
From 1st December 2006 up to date.
You are well vested with everything that's happening there. So I mean, your thoughts about what's happening, really, all the concerns that have been raised so far by previous speakers.
Well, yeah, obviously, I'm coming from Lusaka City Council, to be specific, city planning department. And if you heard from their submissions, they state that they have petitioned, or is that they have submitted the counter objections to the development that is poised to take place in the vicinity of their institution. So as an institution, we have received that, and we're taking note of that as we make a decision on that matter. Yes.
How sensitized should people be when it comes to acquisition of land in Lusaka?
They really need to be very sensitized, and probably maybe the other angle to that question is, are we doing enough sensitization to ensure that our citizens are aware of what they're supposed to do when these developments take place? I think in Lusaka, to be specific, the level of awareness are quite low, because you see it in people doing illegal extensions towards the road reserves. You may be interested to know that even simple things like boundary walls require building plans, and the maximum height is 2 meters, so you see people going beyond 2 meters. So it just tells you that the levels of sensitization are quite low.
Does this also mean that they actually don't understand the procedure, for instance, if you want to change land use?
Well, the procedure for doing a change of use is not understood by many people, but however, when people come up with major developments, they do come up to the council to submit their documents so that they are processed and given the rightful advice on what to do, the steps to be followed, and so on.
In the case of St. Mary's, though, obviously that land was not initially meant for a shopping mall, is it?
Yeah, of course. You may also wish to know that Lusaka City has a comprehensive urban development plan that defines the land use for different parcels of land. That area where St. Mary's is a land use for an institution. If you look at the land use plan, you see it's written EC, which is education institution. Yes.
Okay. So the coming up of a shopping mall. Conflicting your views? Or?
Yeah, in fact, that's why we are discussing the issue of change of use. If a land is zoned for a different use and you want to do something contrary, that's why now the language of change of land use comes in now. So we're talking about change of use of that land use from what it was designated from earlier, from prior to independence. I think it has been actually institutional or religious. But when the master plan came in, I think that particular portion in the corner of Chindo and Leopard Sea Road, if you check the master plan, you see it's written EC, which is educational. So now if you want to do anything contrary to that, that's why you need to embark on what you call change of land use.
Are you aware of the fact that they have applied for change of ownership, change of use?
Oh yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay, so you've granted them?
Well, allow me to recuse myself from answering that question, because as an institution, we are part of the people who have been petitioned, and we need to make a decision. And if I'm going to vouch that information, it means the purpose of them submitting that petition to allow us make a decision will be defeated. Allow me to be general on this matter.
When is public interest enough to override the interest of a developer?
Well, we look at the merits of the issues that are being raised. And we don't need to have been so many. What matters is what kind of issues are being raised. Can they be mitigated upon? If they can't be mitigated upon, then you may decide otherwise. If they can be mitigated upon, then you look at the mitigations and see, can this mitigation be sufficient enough to handle these issues, and so on. So those are the factors that you put in place. The Urban and Regional Planning Act number 3 of 2015 allows for that. When you are going to do bring up a major development, we allow that process of either advertising the change of use or advertising a major development, and the number of days to allow people to give objections to are stipulated. You may wish to know that prior to 2015 we had the Town and Country Planning Act. Then in doing change of use, all you required was to put an advert in the print media and then get a cutting and then submit it along after the number of days that are allowed to pass to allow the people to react. But I think it was observed that the reading culture in Zambia is not very good, because many people do react long after the time is due. So now the URP number 3 of 2015 now requires that that advert should be done sufficiently, even in the area where the development is supposed to take place.
So in this case, there's supposed to be a billboard erected on site.
Precisely, yes.
Okay. So what happens in an event that the billboard is not erected on site, like is the case with St. Mary's?
Okay, as regards St. Mary's, I'm going to talk about what is prevailing at the moment, because we're at the stage of looking at the building plans. If you go to St. Mary's, to be precise, along Tindo Road, near the junction with Tender Road, you see a billboard advertising the building plans, requiring 14 days for the concerned citizens to lodge in their observations. So in as far as the building plans is concerned, we would say there's a billboard there.
But as it is at the moment, it doesn't guarantee the developer that their plans will be approved.
Like I mentioned earlier on, any building that comes up requires the building plans to be approved. And we are in the process, and in the process of doing this, we look at the concerns that are being raised and the merits of the concerns and so on. We look at all the factors holistically, because you need to look at development, balance up development with the existing environment, the compatibility and all that kind of thing, so that at the end of the day we get harmony. Yes.
Okay, so what you're trying to say is that these factors, they should be in agreeing with what, the law, or with what the public, the general consensus in terms of the members of the public?
Well, I would call, to answer you, let me state this. Assuming there's a virgin land that has not been, virgin land means not disturbed, and then you want to bring up development. So you look at what are the pros.
I don't want to get lost. Let's just put it on St. Mary's. It's an example. That
Yes.
we've stated categorically, it's an example. Let's use St. Mary's as a blueprint.
I'm constrained to talk about St. Mary's because we are about to make a decision on St. Mary's, and we have got submissions there. So if I'm going to make a statement here, I'm going to give an indication, and I don't have the power to make a decision.
Okay, let's say there's Mulamba Primary School.
Yes.
Here there's Mulamba Primary School, and then next to Mulamba Primary School, I want to develop a mall. Let's use that example.
Okay. So in that case, we are going to look at what does this development do to what is existing. If this development is going to disturb what is existing, what are the mitigations? Remember, in mitigation, when the mitigations are not sufficient, then you may decide otherwise. But if you have got enough mitigations to counter the concerns, then you may go ahead. So you look at all the factors on the table holistically, because at the end of the day, with planning, you want to get development that brings harmony, that is conforming to what is available. So a shopping mall, ideally you're talking about job creation. For Lusaka, for example, you may wish to know that the GDP of the city is quite low. The contribution of the majority of our people who are found in the peri-urban areas, constituting about 70% of the total population, are quite low. So we're looking at job creation ventures versus strengthening the institutions that are supposed to promote the cadre of people who are going to be experts in this city. So you look at all factors at hand and see where do you strike a balance. Do you go ahead or you don't go ahead? Those are the factors that inform the decision.
Do you carry out ground investigations, like as a city planning department? You move, in this case, Mulamba Primary School versus Dube, developers. Do you move on the ground and have a look at the, for instance, psychological impact that this more I want to build against Mulamba School here? What psychological impact this thing is going to have in terms of also to the community around that place?
Yeah, we do that because if we do,
or maybe you just pick up a map and say, yeah, okay, this is it. And
if we did that, then we'll be falling short of what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to canvass. In fact, we are supposed to know the city better than we know the back of our hands. Because we got this parcel of land lying on these 360 square meters, and then we want to bring development. Our master plan tells us such development should be restricted to this area. Such development should be in this mixed land use. Such development, like those which produce maybe hazardous emissions and so on, should be far away from sensitive people and so on. So you can only do that if you get on the ground and look at all these factors in reality, and then get back and interpret it on the map and see whether you are falling within the standards or you're out of the standards.
Can 4,000 signatures to, or petitions amount to the city planning department to avoid giving or granting permission to a developer to go ahead and develop?
Yes, I think even one. But remember what I said, that we look at the merits of the claims. Okay? I'll give you an example. If somebody says, I don't like somebody just the way they look, is that enough merit? Does it warrant you to grant that kind of consent? If somebody comes and says, I don't like this because of the following, A, B, C, D, the merits in what is being put across, even one person is enough to make you consider it in making a decision. Yes.
So in terms of, somebody wanting to change land use, and then you are meeting such kind of resistance, what does it tell you as a city planning?
Well, it tells me that obviously people are not accepting this development. But then one thing that I'll ask myself, are they aware of the current status of the land use in this area? Were there enough public involvement maybe at the time of degazetting this land use as such? So those are indicators. That's why I keep on going back to the point which says what are the merits of the claims. I think that is very cardinal there.
All right, maybe there's some claims that there's too much corruption in the process of changing land use to ensure favors, and that it mostly favors the developer. What would you say to that?
Well, I wouldn't want to maybe agree to that, because the process is only maybe going to be claimed to be corrupt if it's not transparent. But if the process is transparent and people are allowed to give submissions, then where is the corruption there? I think maybe it only becomes corrupt if you seem to be ignoring serious issues. Because as I said, is the mitigation sufficient enough? Okay.
So with the current trend of shopping malls popping up in Lusaka, how do you see Lusaka in the next 10 years? Are we going to have schools, more schools? Are we going to have more shopping malls? Are we going to have more play parks? Are we going to have more shopping? How do you see it? I mean, every corner I tend to, I see a shopping mall. Every sporting facility is being erased. Shopping mall coming up. How do you see it from the perspective of a city planner?
Yeah, maybe we need to probably do a lot of guidance and maybe a lot of control. Because, of course, you may be interested that in the fact that in certain countries, you can get into a shopping mall from here up to Woodlands just in one shopping mall. Okay? But I think what you have in Zambia is that we seem to be having isolated shopping mall. They are not kind of like connected. I'm sure you agree with me that in certain countries, you get, for example, from here all the way up to Civic Center. You're just in the shopping mall. But of course, we don't want to have one development disadvantage the other social amenities in the city. We need to get up a balanced kind of development whereby the social facilities like education, health are going on
Okay.
and disturbed
Yeah.
by what is coming up and so on.
Let's conclude. Do you think that these social amenities, play parks, schools, and so they are under threat at the moment?
Yeah, we seem to have that kind of situation because probably the size of land in the city is too small, so everyone wants to do everything within the city. I think that's where the problem comes in, so that everyone sees any space out there, they want to do business there. So we need to really maybe come to the fore at the city planning and ensure that the play parks are maintained and such to offer what they're supposed to be designed to offer.
I wish we could continue, but we're constrained with time.
I know we are constrained. Producer, director, please allow me to answer this question. Did you plan for these malls as the city council? Did you plan for these malls which are, you know,
in your revised plan?
In your revised plan? And having said that, have you planned for more malls coming, you know, going forward?
I'll give you a clear-cut answer to that. The malls that we planned for, or the industrialized areas that we planned for, are in the periphery of the city. What do I mean by that? Such as Lusaka South Multi-Facility Economic Zone, for the very purpose that we should draw population in that area. Instead of everyone going into the central business district to congest it, some people should be going towards that. We've got the Lusaka East Multi-Facility Economic Zone by the KK International Airport, so that also we offer such kind of facilities. We have some in the boundaries of the city, like if you go to Kabangwe, we have got a zone that is planned for such. But however, some of those that come within are demand driven, because land is in the hands of the private, the people own the land. So they decide whatever they want to do with it. So that's why they have to come and bring up these proposals, and then we grant them or refuse them.
All right. Litumezidi Ahuru for coming. Thank you very much. We gotta go. We gotta go.
This is the humble laws, yeah.
He's clapping for himself.
Let's take a breather. We'll be right back.
I've been into this business since 2008 in terms of fashions. Mostly we do make a lot of business like on the dress, like these trousers, elephant trousers, the dashik shirts, and most of the tenge bags. Okay, yes, and some handbags, typical African handbags. Yeah, we do make some, and some we normally order. We do lack of time. I can say something which is really made, for example, I may say something which is made in Zambia. If you come to Zambia to get something which is made in Zambia, it's quite very much important because it got a lot of memories and history. The material like for the wooden cabins, the bags, the sea and the shoes. The slippers, mostly the guys who make training slippers are from outskirts of Zambia, in Tanzania and Kenya. And the bags, right here within. And I say like for Chitenge bags, we just came up with the idea of making some backpacks out of Chitenge. Something which was real African material.
Like I may say, this one is a handbag for ladies. This was the first one we discovered making the thing about this one. But later on we became of the idea of making the backpacks for guys. But for the big guys,
for the kids. Most like those ones from baby class. The slippers are up made up of leather and beads. The heels as a rubber. This heel is out of the tires from the cars.
All right, great stuff. Tenga outfits are coming into fashion, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Bags,
Bags,
wristwatches,
shoes. I've never seen a
shoes.
wristwatch with bands.
Yeah,
Tenga,
I've seen one.
But I've seen shoes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen handbags.
Yeah.
I've seen outfits.
Yeah.
I've seen that, but haven't seen. I mean, like
They're sold at
band.
some malls.
some malls.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they'll be there at that mall that is about to be. I don't
That one I doubt.
Let's move
So
on.
who do we have next time?
We've got, please do the honors. I'd like you to pronounce this name. The last name sounds.
I was trying by all means.
Trying to avoid it? Give it to me.
Yeah. All right. In studio at the moment, we have Director Advocacy and Communication from the Save the Children. All right, from Save the Children, and we have Miss Caroline Nenguke. And so Brian will be getting to just get to hear their thoughts regarding our topic of discussion this morning.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll give you 5.5 out of 10.
That's
Above average. Good morning and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been seated and you've been listening to all the comments that have come through from our guests this morning. I would like to hear yours.
I think I Save the Children. We've been following. So obviously, we track news, so
Yeah.
we hear what's going on, and we've been following the discussions in the media. And in following the discussions, it actually, for us, what is glaring or what comes to mind is, that land. So we kind of saw a clip before this morning, which was showing a swimming pool and a ground, so which is like a play area for children. So for us, when we look at that, we are thinking, for all of these years, that's what it's been used for, for children to play, but also for extracurricular activities for children. And when we talk about extracurricular activities for children, we're looking at, when we look at the 5 areas of development for a child, so there's physical, there's social, there's emotional, there's cognitive, and there's language development. So in all of those, play plays a big role in the development of a child to develop all those 5 areas. So it's part of the education, so it's part of educating the children, but it's also part of them, realizing their potential. And when we talk about realizing the potential, it's part of them also, realizing their talents. So it could be that, somebody becomes the next Hussein Bolt because of the playground, or it could be that we actually recognize the talent because somebody has got, a child has got this swimming pool that they can realize that actually I think this is a talent I have and I can develop it and become a world champion. So those facilities are important, and I think that when we talk about building malls at the expense of the development of children, I think then we need to rethink what we are saying. So I think I heard one of the guests that you had here, you probably asked a question about, this, it's kind of, a catch-22, where the mall provides employment, but then on the other hand, you also need a conducive environment for children to develop. So if we look at that, so we have a mall, yeah? That's going to provide employment. But then if the children, because of the proximity of the mall, if the mall does not allow children to actually learn in a conducive environment, are those children going to be employed? I don't think so. So, we need to think about all of those things, that it's not just providing employment, but providing employment for who? And providing employment for people who are employable. For them to be employable, they need to learn, and they need to learn in a conducive environment.
All right. When you look at the way we are, acquiring land and the way we're using land, do you think that as a country we've taken the interest of the child, in all this mix?
I can't say yes and I can't say no. And the reason is that, in some areas, it's very clear. Like this land is designated for maybe a play park, and it will remain for a play park. And then some areas, it's just not.
Do you still have play parks?
We were just discussing just before I came on.
All right.
About, we had this Sherry's Park in Northmead.
Yeah.
I think it's still there. And apparently there's an application to take that away. I don't know what's going to go on that land or what the council or the authorities plan to do with it. So taking away those amenities means that we're actually not giving our children an opportunity to, develop using those play parks, using, to play, but also we are actually then saying it's not important. But that's something that we actually need to rethink. And we need to rethink it in terms of, if we put emphasis on education, what does a conducive environment for education mean? It means a whole lot of things. It doesn't just mean me going to a classroom and sitting in a classroom and that's it. When I go home, what happens? That's when you get vices like, children getting into abusing drugs, children getting trafficked, child prostitution, and all of those things, because there's just no recreation activities, there's no facilities. We are using the facilities for, at the expense of the child's development.
All right. I'm glad you brought in the issue of going home, because, of course, we can argue that, let the schools be away from the malls, away from these, structures that may distract them from their education. But when they get back home, their house is next to a bar.
Those are issues that, the council needs to look into. I live right next to a bar. How is that conducive for a child? Don't they have designated areas for bars? And I think I remember that a few months ago, I was in Lufanyama, that's one of our, where we work. And the community was up in arms because the council had allowed a bar right next to a school. So every time the children, are from school, then there's this loud music, and then there's all these people drinking, and then there's these girls are going, walking from school, going home, and then the people that are drinking are now, trying to make passes at them. That's not conducive. So the community was up in arms, and I think they requested, at the time that I had visited, they had actually requested for the license to be revoked. Now, whether that was done or not, I'm actually not sure about it now.
All right. Going forward, what would you recommend as the best route we should take as a country when it comes to safeguarding the interest of the girl child or the children in general versus development? Because we want malls, of course. We want to have places where we can buy, everything that we need. We need the jobs, and we need the city to look beautiful, isn't it? But how do we strike a balance, with having children and their welfare at the back of our minds?
I think going forward, the one thing that we should always remember is that so we don't inherit the world from our forefathers. We actually borrow it from our children, because they're the future. Yeah? So we need to look at them, look at it in terms of, the future. What does the future? What do we want for the future? And how is posterity going to judge us if we plan, and if our plans are not actually taking into consideration what the future will look like? So let's really, sit down. And obviously that's why we have to do this all town planning from, the council town planning. It's because all of these things need to have their designated areas. And having their designated areas doesn't mean that they need to encroach on other, like on children's rights to development or even just to education. So really it's about planning, how we actually plan our cities, but also plan for the future.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for coming through, and all the best to Save the Children.
Thank you very much.
All right. Awesome stuff there. But it's quite interesting So you safeguard the
making passes.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, making passes.
Making passes. So you spare the school.
Yeah.
No more, no bar around. But when they get home, they've got 3 bars around their home, around their house.
It's a huge debate. So it's all falling on
City planning.
Yeah, city planning. How you plan it. When you revise your plans, ensure that your plans are still
in line with the.
Yes. Let's be sustainable in our planning. Sustainability is the key word. Let's enjoy, but still ensure that the future generations still enjoy equally.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about morals. You need to look out also for cultural values, which comes through here on TV2, the Pulse of Television. Just in case you've never seen this program, here's what it's made of, and this, I guess, will entice you to make a date with Brenda.
Kukula kwatu kwa kudala kwenze kuhusiana na kukula kwa lomba. Chifukwa mwana aliyense po mwana wake kuli mwambo wake wo muja wa mwana.
Vana chakutikulira mwakuphunzira ophunzira za chirwendo chamene chira ndechaononga mwambo waso.
Young children must listen, and if they are grieved, they can speak later on politely to the parents or to the grandmother or aunties.
Nakaba unganipasa mupando uyu iwe shuwa nabweresa madede kutaunu so ndaganira kuti ndibwere kuno ndipeze malo mailo kusendise iwe Jeff sindi ndabwere kumanga nyumba kuno ya ukaziziba chibululu iwe nditine malume bako utiyangane kumaso ndiyangane sisi ndinoipa nkhope pati mutima ndiwa malume bako koma kandisokoneza ndizakukomola.
Culture, defined as the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people or society.
Wamene tienda mkunali treni kudala noti mabasi. Tekwendea mu treni. Ukaona mtu mkulu wanyamuka. Uja mtu mkulu ankalapo iwe waimirira.
This season, we get back to our roots.
Ikomatisataye mwambo iyaye. Chifukwa mwambo ni wa makolo.
Join Brenda in the all-new documentary series, Cultural Values, as she travels the journey to help us keep our Zambian tradition and culture. Cultural Values, Fridays, 19:30 hours on ZNBC TV2, the Pulse of Television.
Values is on tonight at 19:30 hours. It's a Friday. Do make a date. Obviously, we do have an exciting episode yet again.
But by the way, you know, you can actually preserve your culture and your values and your tradition in general using moss.
Moss?
Yes. You sell beads, you sell these culture.
Yeah, you can. You can. Yeah, you can. But yeah.
But not next to a school, huh?
No, not next to a school. Maybe next to nothing, you know. Multi-facility zone, somewhere there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's now get the thoughts of the non-governmental organization coordinating council, and we've got Chilufya Siwale, who is coming in to give us, the take of NGOCC on our topic of discussion this morning, the issue of protecting other interests. And as far as we, regardless of us, obviously being in their need of development and things of that nature. And Jason will be engaging her in the next interview. Q.
Good morning to you, madam, and good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
We're glad that as an umbrella non-governmental organization, you've come right at the end, so we could hear what you're doing regarding what is happening on the ground. Yeah. And I'm sure this is not the only case that you are faced with. There are quite many others out there. But really, when did you come into contact with this issue?
I think we came into contact with this issue when there was the hearing at the school, when the ZEMA were presenting their findings at the school, which happened at the school. So we went to attend and just to listen to what both the concerns and also the environmental report, what it was saying. And one of the things that we noted was that there was no analysis on the social impact, the social and moral impact of the mall. And that is where we come in as a civil society and as an organization that is interested in the affairs of the girl child especially. That we have seen even the current malls that are there, you see that most of the children that are frequenting such malls, there are a lot of issues that are going around. And just to mention, when you're talking about the morals, St. Mary's, they have a motto which is around morals and intelligence. And I remember during that hearing, raising the concern that the very morals that St. Mary's was, built on, or they have concentrated on, are going to be at stake because of the proximity of the mall. And I think I'm happy that the previous presenter was here from Save the Children, was talking about the extra mural curricula, because when you look at Copper Belt, why it used to have the best football players in those days when there was this CCM, was that each mine had an extracurricular program. There was the athletics, the football, all the sports, everyone, even the schools. After school, children would go and play, at the stadium, and you see that each town on the Copper Belt, they have stadiums because they valued the play and the extracurricular in the development of the child. And you see that we got a lot of players from there. Most of them that have become great players came from the Copper
As a
Belt.
civil society organization, obviously, this is when we're supposed to be hearing more of you talking. Are you talking?
We
Where?
did.
What? How are you?
We
how?
did. We issued a statement, a press statement, and I think there was even a consultative meeting. Women for Change was here. They are our members, so we had to call our members to discuss the issue, and after that, we issued a statement to stand with the parents and the school, that the values of our children are at stake, because you can't put a school. And I think when we come back, I saw the council, I think we have a problem, not just in Lusaka, but the whole country, like you are saying, the planning problem. So maybe we need an endeavor to look at how things are being planned. Yes, even if somebody owns a land and wants to change it, there's need to look into that, to look into the effects of
Have you written
that
to City Council? Have you written to the Minister of Education?
We wrote to Zema because there was that. I think they had invited some people to write. So we also wrote a letter to Zema, but we also did a press statement to stand with the parents. We've been engaging, and I think one unfortunate thing we would just to urge that there's need for dialogue also between the parties that are involved, the Parent Teachers Association, the school, and the Catholic bishops. I think they need to sit down and dialogue and look at the concerns that are being raised and are being advanced by both parties.
Do you think it's whatever is happening now, there's transparency?
I wouldn't say there is transparency. That's why if there's no dialogue, you can't say there's transparency. So there's need for dialogue to look at and understand the concerns that the school and the parents are advancing. Because I think, I don't know, when you look at that place, Woodlands Mall is just like few meters. Yes, we're talking about the jobs that you want to create, but have we even assessed all the malls that we have in Lusaka? Most of them are vacant. They are not even occupied. So how sure are they that they are going to even make the money that is needed? We agree, we are mindful that they need the money, but there are other ways that if they sat down, they can look at other ways of raising the funds.
When should public interest override the interest of land use? The owners, how the owners of the land want to use it?
I think, like I'm saying, the social analysis was not really done. The psychological impact, the moral impact, and the social analysis was not articulated clearly in that report. So for me, if the interest of the child is at stake, that should override the land use. Because even Kalingalinga, look at Kalingalinga, all the occupants, they are selling off their land, and we are seeing huge malls they are coming up. So really, are we going to be a country of Moors, just Moors everywhere, and no other? If you know, for me, really, it's quite a worry.
How should we then measure public interest to say this is enough public interest to amount to Mr. B changing his land use plans?
When I attended the hearing, it was fully packed. People were outside, and they all were against, especially the parents. They were against of that more. For me, really, you need to listen to people when they say that this is not good. Even in our day-to-day lives, if people come, 2 or 3 people come and advise you against doing certain things, you have to listen to that voice. Yeah.
There could be somebody out there who says, look, Madam Chilufya, you're speaking sense. There's a lot of sense in what you're saying, but we have not seen you much. We have not seen you being vocal like you would do when a man hugs a woman.
Okay, I think because there has been that process, I think it is also good to let that process be implemented. There's been that process of the environment, which is a process that all the developers go through, and there was that hearing. But coming here also, it's one of the things that we talked about, because if we are talking in these other places, it's not like we have not been talking. We've been talking, we've been engaging in maybe places where you may not be aware of. But coming here, it's one of the ideas that also we thought we need to let the people out there know that we don't agree to whatever is going on at St. Mary's. For your information, St. Mary's is a very good school. It's one of the best school that has produced best students. So if we are coming to disturb what happens at that school because of the proximity of the mall, because you know the mall comes with a lot of things. There'll be nightclubs there. There'll be films, like the way it is at Levy. All those things will be there to disturb the children. So for me, it's do we have the interest of those children at heart? And if it was my child, would you, and it was your child, would you really say it's okay, let them continue? Because even now, if this is school time, and you find a child at any mall, even if it's not near the school, but at any mall, when the child is supposed to be in school, it will be of concern to you as a parent. So I think let's not give the children, a situation where they would start deciding whether to be at the mall or to be in school.
In class. Okay.
Let's prevent that before it happens, because I'm sure you've had times where you've seen children maybe at Manda Hill, at Levy Mall, at Arcades, when it is school time.
Yeah. Now, I'd have to say big thanks, for finding time to be with us.
Let me just mention the last part. The last question that we asked the developer. The developer was asked, you are coming from South Africa. Have you ever seen a school near a mall in South Africa? And he said this school was going to be the first one. So even him, where he's coming from, they don't put malls in the schools. So why should we do it here in Zambia? So I think we need a big endeavor for the council to see how they plan this thing. We need a big endeavor for the concerned parents and to look at what kind of children we are going to have in the next future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for finding time to be with us. I wish we could continue, but we're constrained with time. Moreover, it's getting cold in the studio. I can see it's getting chilly, right?
I have to get ready.
Yeah,
no problem.
Let's take some inspiration a minute to be right back.
Okay.
that's our inspiration minute this morning. But tell you what, I think Swaziland needs lots of inspiration come Monday, because the predictions I'm getting right now from different people indicate that Zambia is beating Swaziland tomorrow in the return leg of the 2018 CHAN qualifier. So we're talking about that in our sports. It's coming up next. Jason is geared to go to give us more details concerning what the weekend looks like when it comes to sports. Plenty of stuff to look out for. Let's get to sports just now.
Time for Morning Live Sports. Yots, good morning.
Good morning, Jason. Good morning, viewers.
I can see you are looking bright.
Well, thanks.
Good result last night?
Yes, against Manchester City, 2-0. Marcus Rashford and the newly signed Lukaku Bolingo.
We'll get into the details of that. Let's quickly get to hear what Nkwazi is up to in as far as rugby is concerned. They seem to be struggling, but they are optimistic of getting positive result. We caught up with the coach. These are his insights.
So far we're okay, though we started on a slow note, but the team has actually picked up. We've lost 2 games this season and drawn 1 against Arrows. So far we're okay. Obviously it's to win the league. We've been planning to win the rugby league for a number of years, and I guess I believe maybe this is the right time for us to win the National League.
In terms of depth in the players, do you have enough players to actually actualize your dream?
Yes, sir. We've got enough players and we've got enough depth of players. And though I lost a number of players to Arrows and KPF and Diggers, but I've got enough players for the season. Yeah.
Your next game this weekend, who are you playing, and what are the chances?
We're traveling to the Copper Belt. We're playing Chivuluma. Definitely going to beat them.
That's the Nkwazi coach. They're very optimistic. This weekend they take on Chivuluma. They're traveling to the Copper Belt, as you heard, and they think that it will be a positive outing. But results that we have been showing you thus far have indicated that Chivuluma are a side that you cannot just simply push aside. Now, tomorrow, the Olympic Youth Development Center, OIDC, will be in a hive of activities as the Lusaka City Council will be holding the Mero Sports Tournament. We caught up just to get more details regarding how the preps are going and what this Mero tournament is all about.
Athletics, that's 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, 5,000 meters, and swimming, among others. Members of the public are required, or teams are supposed to pay 2,500 from actually 500 kwacha to 2,500, depending on a sport. And for individuals, they're supposed to pay 200 kwacha. We also have other companies that have come on board, like Zamtel, who are the official sponsor. We have Californian Beverages and the whole other companies. As we speak today, we have about 25 companies that have confirmed participation. The proceeds from this tournament usually go to a charitable organization of the Mayor's Choice. But this year, the Mayor has indicated that he will donate the proceeds from this tournament to the victims of the...
So all the proceeds will be donated to the victims of the city market inferno that left quite a lot of people without shops and trading. Very good initiative, Yots.
Very good initiative. Like Brenda Katongola was trying to indicate that all donations, all proceeds will be able to go there. I think it's a noble cause. It's a good cause. We all know of friends that have lost their livelihood from that inferno. So it's important that every stakeholder should be able to come on board and assist.
Any chances you taking part?
Well, I've had a lot of friends, colleagues that we are into the same predicament. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now let's quickly get to hear thoughts from Coach Remington regarding a basketball clinic that will be coming up for under 10s and under 12. It will be taking part at the National Sports Development Center, NASDEC, in the coming few weeks, to be precise, on the 26th of August 2017. Obviously, we'll be keeping you posted with that particular development as well. But let's get to hear more details regarding what this is all about.
Star basketball, mini basketball camp, which has a theme, dribble to stop diabetes. this camp actually brings together 100 kids from different primary schools around Lusaka. And with it comes the parents who come to support the cause of this camp. This camp focuses on promoting fitness and wellness, health for kids 5 to 12. And so when we bring in these kids, they are taught the basic fundamentals of the game of basketball, and we bring in a star or somebody who helps to encourage the kids to take part in physical activities. It's going to be on the 26th of August at National Sports Development Center, which is NASDAQ, the indoor gymnasium. We're expecting to have fun with 100 kids, and these 100 kids will actually learn the basic fundamentals of the game, which is shooting, dribbling, passing, ball handling skills, to keep their cardio high. We also will exercise with them, jumping rope, doing the step ladder, and a lot of other exercises.
Let's now focus our attention on the CHAN tournament, CHAN qualifiers that will be taking place this weekend. Exciting stuff. Let's get to hear from some voice that adds to their predictions or their thoughts on how Zambia should prepare themselves against Swaziland. The game takes place tomorrow at the National Heroes Stadium. Thereafter, Yots gives us his thoughts. Quickly, Yots, maybe. Just have a look at.
Well, I think, honestly speaking, we should have one leg into the CHAN qualifiers in that we won the first leg 4 goals to 0 in Babane. We did our job. We did what was supposed to be done, and that was good. Now it's trying to just finish the job at home.
Okay, quickly, just before we get into that, let's just wrap up with the FAWZ MTN Super League. It's an interesting round this weekend, and the fixtures look pretty much interesting as well. Yes.
Yes, indeed, very interesting fixtures when you look at NAPSA trying to consolidate their position atop. The APO, the MTN against Nakambala. I think it's a game that they should be able to win, but Nakambala is a difficult side. I want to think that last weekend Nakambala played well. Then you look at Lusaka Dynamos again against Cabo Warriors. I think it will be a difficult game for Cabo Warriors, regardless of them playing at home. You all know that Cabo Warriors all season they've only won 1 game and they've drawn a number of games and they've lost a lot of games. So to me, I think it's time to catch up for them if they are to avoid any relegation. But against Lusaka Dynamos, it will be tough for Cabo Warriors. Nchanga Rangers will be at home against Konkola Blades. Very, very difficult for them. But in that, Nchanga Rangers is not playing well. They're not getting the kind of results that they should be getting. They've fired the coach. There's a new coach now. So I want to think that it's a game that they should be able to win if they are having any chances of them to be able to survive in the league.
So those are the fixtures for this weekend. Zanaco Butte, Zesco Green Eagles, Lumwana Radiants taking on Kwasinkana Mufira Wanderers. That's an interesting game to watch. Rihanna going to take on Power Dynamos. Nchanga will take on Konkola Blades. Warriors will be up against Lusaka Dynamos, and certainly that marks round 18 of the FAWZ MTN Super League. Let's talk about the CHAN though. It's a very interesting fixture this weekend.
Yes, indeed. Zambia is up against Swaziland in that, like I did indicate, that we won 4 goals to 0 at Somlolo Stadium. We did a good job. I think what is now needed is for us to be able to cement the position in terms of qualifying. So we're looking forward to the game that we'll be able to play against the South Africans. But we shouldn't be able to take things for granted in that, regardless of having scored 4, we try to push off the foot off the pedal. I think let's go for it. Let's be able to get the results and be able to score a number of goals. I want to believe that Coach Wetson Nyirenda should be able to try a few other players here and there to try and see if they can also be able to come into the Zambia national team. Like he's indicated that he's still building, and this is an open opportunity for him, to be able to use certain players.
Let's talk about the ticket sales, though.
Well, the open wing is 25. We have somewhere going at 100, and the VIP is at 300. That's what the
fair enough.
I don't know whether it's fair enough, but the Zambian FA, because they do understand that to host an international game, there's a lot of expenses that go with it. You have to pay the referees, you have to hire the stadium, you have to do a lot of things, and you have to accommodate the team that is visiting. So you need to have money to be able to pay for those expenses. So
the fans, though, they need to come in large numbers to support the team.
Indeed, the fans have to come in large numbers to be able to support the Zambian FA. So what is important is for the Zambian Zambian fans troop into the stadium, fill up the stadium, support the boys, and in a way, be able to beef up the coffers of the Zambian FA.
So, Yots, big thanks for finding time to be with us. I'll see you tomorrow at 12:30.
Pleasure.
We've got a lot of sports to look at.
Thanks very much. Yeah, we need also to talk tomorrow about the bloated Africa Cup of Nations, because now from 16 is 24. It's now moving out from January to February into June, July.
Yeah, and obviously there's that move, the AFCON, to some other, is it USA?
No, I mean, that's a far-fetched idea. You can never play Africa Cup of Nations in China.
Yots, we shall talk more in detail about that particular item, tomorrow at 12:30. For now, that's your sports.
I propose we take it just 40 meters away from the continent.
40 meters away from the 40 meters away from the continent.
Yes.
Yeah, then we'll still call it Africa.
Africa Cup.
Yeah, 40
well,
meters.
we gotta go, but so many talking points were brought to the fore, and as far as the topic of discussion this morning was concerned, we're looking at land use and conflicting interest. And what came to the fore is the need, first of all, to give attention to public interest, isn't it?
Give attention to public interest in as much as you are the title owner. If public interest is overriding what you're planning to do,
think twice.
Yeah, think twice and just, there's plenty of land in Zambia. And if you come up with a more in Chongwe or any other place between Kabwe and Lusaka, or between Kabwe, Lusaka and Kafue, if it's good enough, we'll follow it. Yeah. Don't you go to Siavonga? There's a nice resort place there. We still go there. Yeah?
The show is back again on Monday. Thank you very much for your time. Have yourself a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And all the best to the Polo Polo boys as they do battle up against Swaziland.
Certainly.
Good morning.
Morning.